Well, hello, my fellow sensitive people. It is I, Whimsy, your favorite oracle, here to talk about the latest news and to help us all talk through what's coming in the next couple of years. Gosh darn it, tomorrow is the last day of Joe Biden's presidency. Of course, we want to thank him for serving the country. We think he did a good job. But alas, he is now leaving. Adieu. And tomorrow, the 47th president of the United States will be sworn in, and that is Donald J. Trump. Now, some of you like him, some of you don't like him. But when we go into the meditations on Donald Trump, the prediction I have for Donald Trump is that he will likely begin to have problems in his presidency that show he is not able to continue in his presidency as early as March. I see a lot of civil unrest happening in the Republican Party, and for that reason, we could also see a juxtapositioning for power. It's interesting to see that the civil war that's happening in the Republican Party is very similar to what's happening in the Democrats' Party. You have the corporate Democrats, and then you have everybody else. And that's kind of what's happening to some extent in the Republican Party. You have the corporate Republicans, and you have everybody else. And so we're going to start seeing this shift and this civil war. And we're also seeing problems within the corporate world itself. For example, a lot of people want to throw Elon Musk to the wolves. He's under investigation from a lot of people, including is it called the SEC or the Securities Exchange Commission? That is right. He's also under investigations for fraud, etc., in Europe. Of course, part of this has to do with the fact that he may have been manipulating some of the facts regarding safety of Tesla and their self-driving cars. It's going to be interesting to see how that pans out. But I have a feeling that Elon Musk is losing friends. And for that reason, he may not be as safe as he'd like to believe. Over the next couple of months, we are going to start seeing a rollout of the rebuild of Gaza. I've talked a lot about this. We could talk about it again, but I think we've kind of talked about it ad nauseum. We've also talked about the fact that we predicted that there would be 5 phases that would start happening as we get towards securing a peaceful world. And the first was the ceasefire that takes place in Gaza. And of course, now we are in fact seeing that ceasefire. As outlined by Biden, we'll also see an exchange of hostages with Hamas. And if we want phase 3, the rebuild, to happen, that has to happen with an agreement from Hamas to leave Gaza. And so, what I would say to Hamas, uh, as somebody who has spent a lot of time meditating on this issue, is I would say to Hamas that you should take this deal. And what that's going to look like is that phase 2 would be an opportunity for them to seek asylum in other countries because they will have to give up Gaza. If they're not able to do that, then after the initial exchange of hostages, we will not see a state. They will return back to war. We will not be able to maintain a ceasefire as long as Hamas is in Gaza. And so the only solution based on the facts, if you follow the facts, is that the best deal is for them to just simply leave and seek asylum in a country that's not hostile to them. Turkey has taken some Hamas people, as has Algeria, etc. And we'll see that rollout of the rebuild of Gaza, which is an opportunity to see trade and a safe interchange between the people of Gaza and the people of Israel as they build kibbutz like systems and work together and build lives together. That is the future of Gaza. But it can't happen with Hamas. And so, for that reason, the ceasefire will not hold if Hamas insist on staying in Gaza. But they will leave eventually because that is the only way out of this. In terms of phase four, which we had talked about, that would be the isolation of Putin because Putin threatens global annihilation with nuclear weapons, and it's become increasingly obvious to the entire world that he has to be dismantled. Even his allies, China, think he's unstable, and for that reason, he has lost support. He's becoming increasingly paranoid and isolated, and he will be contained. Right now, NATO forces are starting to converge at the borders, and he is, of course, beginning to put his troops up. And there's a real feeling that he knows, as we do, that there is a phase four. So I'm feeling like, for that reason, I am gonna let me see if I can do this for you guys. Just because I have a feeling that a lot of people watching this may not know what we're talking about. So let me get the finder here. But basically, we're talking about five phases that the world will have to go to in order to get to peace and reduce our risk for a nuclear disaster. And this was a remote view that was given. You can see the time that this was sent was 3:53 a.m. December 20th, 2023. Was sent to the Israeli Defense Forces. It was sent to Benny Gantz. So that would be over a year ago. I sent it to Benny Gantz. And this remote, what a remote is, okay, this is a technique that anybody, and police officers can use this technique. I strongly encourage the military to use this technique. This is an ancient technique. It goes all the way back to China 5,500 years ago. You put yourself in the shoes of the enemy. What do they want? Phase one was to get to ceasefire, and we have some initial hostages being exchanged. That's great. But phase two is when the final exchange happens and we see Hamas go to a host country. And at that point, phase three happens and we can begin to rebuild. However, they could break the deal at any time. Now we're headed towards phase four. Putin isolated, and then that Iranian leadership will fall next. Harder with Iran because I think their economy is stronger than Russia's. I just want to show this briefly so that people understand what we're talking about. Okay, so Biden has now delivered the three phases. They've been approved. Hostages are about to be released. We're going to find out who lived, who did not survive, how many may still be remaining. This is all good. Why did the universe pick Donald Trump to do this? I have cried. I have wept. I have asked myself, why did you do this to us? Maybe the universe is mad at us, Is that what's happening? I think that my gift to you as Whimsy is that I can give you an insight into the inner world of what is happening right now. And the universe is a strange place. And I can tell you what's very likely happening is the rebuild of Gaza couldn't happen under the Democrats. Now, I am a Democrat, and this is very painful for me to come to terms with because I would like to believe that it could have been us, but I don't think that we would have been as aggressive as is necessary to uproot Hamas from Gaza. I think we would have played it safe and the disease would have festered. To some extent, some Democrats who support Israel are kind of relieved that we don't have to do this rebuild, that we don't have to make those tough decisions if it means weeding out and doing horrible things to take out Hamas. But Trump's Republicans, his pro-Israel Republic, they have no problem gassing people out of their holes if necessary. And so you let the crazy guy come in. We give a wink, wink, nod. Those of us that support Israel, let this thing come in. Is that what we're looking at? Because as Democrats, could we have done this? And we have to ask this. I'm asking you honestly, in your heart of hearts, could we have gone in and uprooted terrorists if they were using human babies as human shields? I think our compassion and our empathy would have worked against us. It was working against us. And that is what led to the Iran deal, which propped up Hezbollah. I think that those are legitimate criticisms. And I think that there is a reason why we want this guy and this administration to take this on, and this is the rebuild. If you want to read it, you want a sneak peek. So who's paying for this? People are sick of war. They're sick of things like Iran coming in and invading Israel through Gaza, terrorizing the people of Gaza, right? So integration is the only way out of hell. And so that is where we're headed. And we know that the data shows that we have no choice. We have no choice. We have no choice. We have no choice. And so what you're looking at, I'll let you guys finish reading that. This is the rebuild. Now, will they go and tweak it? Of course. But this is the skeleton of what we're looking at as the rebuild of Gaza. So that's why they brought in Trump. That is why people kind of let it happen. That is why you're not seeing people freak out. That is why you're not seeing the Democrats having a meltdown. It's because of we want the fighting to end. Do you understand what happened? We want the fighting between the different groups, Israel, Gaza, West Bank. We want it to end, and we know that it means making some tough decisions, killing some people, maybe innocent people in the crossfire. This is the nature of war. And in war, tough decisions are made and innocent people die on both sides. But in the end, what we will get an end to hostilities, a ceasefire forever. Biden has seen the rebuild and supports it. But could he have pulled it off? Yes, he could have pulled it off. Yes, he could have done it under Biden. Harris, it would have been more difficult because of who some of her supporters were, like Iran. She had some Iranian support. It would have been difficult for Harris. At the same time, she had an excellent rating with AIPAC. So, this is the private conversation, the anger, the bitterness perhaps of Harris, because Harris probably believes she very much could have pulled this off. But she would have done it as ethically as possible. Some people think that would have been delays. So what's the difference between the two groups? Harris would have done it, but she would have probably made sure that less people died, right? So that would have been slower, but so now they're coming in like a bull in the china shop, mowing down the Philadelphia quarter in Gaza. But that's what's happening, all right? So phase 1, phase 3, they wanted it done before Trump came in, and then the rebuild is phase 3. Now you're in on the deal. Welcome to the club. Okay, let's move on. All right, the next thing that I wanted to talk to people about had to do with the meeting that took place. I've gone in, I did a lot of meditations on this. What were Trump and Obama talking about? What were Trump and Obama talking about? Obama wanted to talk to him about the Paris Agreement. There were three main things I thought they might be talking about. Number one would be Ukraine. Number two would be the Gaza rebuild. Or number three would be the Gaza rebuild and tensions with Iran, the Middle East situation. And number three, the Paris climate agreement, accords, whatever you want to call it. So when you go into this energy, you feel that Obama was desperately trying to preserve. He wanted the legacy of the environmental laws and regulations that had been put under Obama that had been pulled under Trump. And it was Obama's attempt to try and preserve his relationship with the Paris Agreement, which was signed in 2005 and then broke by Trump. And then they went in and had the Paris Agreement. But he pulled out in 2005. So the argument that Trump is making with businessmen is that these regulations are costing money, jobs, etc. And so that's the debate that Obama was saying. Will he likely pull out of the Paris Agreement? Energetically, it looks like, unless something dramatic changes, Trump will pull out of the Paris Agreement. Oh, and the last thing has to do with the energy that is beginning to mount over Donald, excuse me, over Donald Trump regarding the issue of duty to warn. Duty to warn. Duty to warn has to do with two psychiatrists, I believe they are, John Gartner and Retner, I believe. I don't know his first name. And Dr. Retner had gotten together and they had published a warning, a duty to warn regarding what they felt was cognitive decline and mental health issues of Donald Trump. And so here is kind of the evidence that they had and that I had accumulated. It was a combination of what they had done and a combination of what I had done. The first thing that I had seen was a drug addiction. When I went into Trump's energy, I saw a drug addiction. I saw a man that had worked the club scene in, New York, Miami, New Jersey, Nevada. This guy knows how to stay up 3, 4 in the morning. You pop a couple pills, Adderall for attention deficit disorder, right? Adderall, which is a type of amphetamine. But the idea is that this was someone who was an amphetamine addict. He was someone that didn't want people to have access to his medical records. He was hiding, he was hiding his medical records, which is suspicious of a drug problem or at least a medical problem. When his people raided Dr. Bornstein's offices, Dr. Bornstein did have a gastroenterology clinic, but he also was known to write prescriptions. Evidently, that's a rumor. I can't. We'll just leave it at that. But other evidence of addiction is just anecdotal. People that have seen him snorting Adderall, claiming could just be malicious gossip, but not sleeping at night. Rodney Jackson, the physician out of the White House who had been accused of handing drugs or pharmaceuticals out to Trump and his friends, included amphetamines, benzodiazepines, Ambien, gabapentin, and I believe even fentanyl was on the list of drugs that he was handing out. So again, it would look to a relationship between drug use and Donald Trump, but not just drug use and Donald Trump, but drug use with Donald Trump and many senior people working alongside Donald Trump, which brings up the question, are we looking at an administration that's filled with prescription drug addicts? Elon Musk being very open about his prescription drug problem, ketamine, ketamine and other drugs that are associated with, for example, Elon Musk. So we have this evidence of a drug problem, Rodney Jackson, the fact that he still won't release his medical records, the fact that he seized records from Bornstein, the insomnia, the being in the club scene where amphetamines were readily used in the clubs, cocaine and other amphetamines to stay awake, slurring his words sometimes early in the morning, which can often be a side effect of taking sleeping pills like Ambien or benzodiazepines, which are muscle relaxants. All those things show a heavy suggestion for Donald Trump having a drug problem. Lack of impulse control, all of that. In terms of, excuse me, in terms of accusations of senility, which have come from the psychiatric community, John Garter and Retner. They included slurring words, mixing up words, emotional irritability, instability, lack of cognitive skills. Also, there's possibly some neurological, some gait issues, fidgeting, etc. But that could just be arthritis. All right, so I think that is basically it. The prediction based on this information, based on the facts, based on what we're looking at energetically, is that because of the rapid mental decline we're seeing in Donald Trump, also I was going to add risk for coronary artery disease and the correlation between diabetes and Alzheimer's, or diabetes of the brain, because with elevated glucose levels, we start to see neuropathy, but we also see increased risk for amyloid plaques. So his diet alone puts him at risk for amyloid plaque, inflammation, oxidative stress. I'm a physician, by the way. It's a bad example for the country, right? When a person eats like that, right? We want our president to take good care of himself, like Joe, get out there and bike, eat healthy food, etc. Okay, so we're going to do the empath prayer. We'll go in and we'll take a look and we will see what the inauguration looks like. We now know why they brought Trump in. Based on this information, he'll start to show dramatic cognitive decline by March, April of 2025. And at that point, it will become obvious that he has to be removed from office, probably through Article 25. I don't think he's going to be able to continue on past April, given how rapidly he's showing cognitive decline. If he continues on past April, it's going to be very contentious after April because of his rapid mental decline, is what I'm saying. So from April to, say, July, we could be seeing him facing action by Congress. Yeah, to remove him, and possibly by his cabinet. That it is an open. We're seeing some kind of open discussion beginning to happen around March, April, and by June, July, it's becoming apparent that he cannot continue on as the president. In the end, the Republicans win because they get J.D. Vance. They get to build him up. They get to give him a new press rebuild. They can do that with, photography and a new press person and a promo person, and create vulnerable videos about when I felt alone on that dirt floor. They know how to tug at your heartstrings and manipulate you to like somebody, and they've now got over 3 years to do that with J.D. Vance before, so that they can avoid a primary, or at the very least, it's going to be easy for him to get in if they're trying to get him to be elected for another 4 years, which is, if they're smart, they're grooming J.D. Vance to be the next president, because it's very apparent to me as a physician and as a remote viewer that they've got till March before hell breaks loose. And I personally, because I think that the universe is protecting us, think that you should all just enjoy it. Look, we're getting a rebuild out of this, okay? He's crazy enough to make it. I know it's controversial. You read the rebuild. It had to happen. It had to happen. Because God, I am a Democrat, okay? I'm a registered Democrat since I was 18 years old. I'm also an Israeli. This is the way it had to happen. I'm sorry. We'll get rid of him. We'll get rid of him. And then, after we get it started, then we can get rid of the crazy. We're not as different as you think. All right, let's do the empath prayer. Okay. I want to call on white light protection for myself and this community as we ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records. We call on our spirit guides and our good angels to be with us. Please give us the clarity and the wisdom that is needed to empower all of us on our journey to make the best decisions for ourselves, our families, the planet, the people we love, but also to help those we may have strife with. And together, collectively, we say, Amen. All right, let's look at Donald Trump's inauguration and his presidency over the next 3 to 4 months. Because I saw it as getting to be a wild ride, and I'm going to enjoy that. All right, Mr. Trump, how is your presidency? The base of the issue for his presidency, time is running out. Excuse me. His time is brief. His time is brief. Much growth will happen. It's good, the Empress. The Empress comes in, which is growth, abundance. He talks about removing and cutting the new Green Deal. I just don't see it. We have more power than we realize. We don't need him to have a Green Deal. You and I have decided to be part of the Green Deal. We choose what we purchase. We buy from scratch. We don't waste food. We don't purchase things that are in plastic. We buy in bulk when we can, or paper, or recycled. We don't have to participate. We can choose not to drive the car so often, buy a car that has good mileage. We don't have to be a part of it. And we, the consumers, ultimately don't use pesticides, right? So there are so many things that we can do to unplug and not participate in damaging the earth. We are far more and we will send a message to corporate America that we don't want to be a part of it. But the Empress wins, and the Empress is the planet, its abundance, its creativity. But boy, so a lot of good things coming in the next couple of years with the country. But his time, you got that Wheel of Fortune there. 10 of Pentacles, the family legacy. What is going? I feel like he only has 3-4 months. The courts are right over him. I feel like he goes in there and he's immediately stopped, even by his own Supreme Court. There's just this feeling that he is not going to be able to get away with as much as he would like. What is above him? The Fool card takes the leap of faith regarding business. So for him, it's business. Business is always about business. King of Swords is Trump. And he's entering into the time of facing restriction and jail. It always looks like he's being sent to some psychiatric facility where they lock him up. This is a guy who is constantly saying, but I'm the president, and he's the president, but they're giving him his tapioca at 4 p.m., right? But I'm the no, I'm gonna hit you, get off my lawn, right? Okay, eat your tapioca. It's this kind of, Nine of Wands is a feeling that you are being cornered, you're being controlled. It's almost like a paranoia, a fear of being controlled, cornered, imprisoned. Heartbreak. I worry about his heart health. This is something else. Why not just release your medical records if you're okay physically, right? We all, as we get older, like Whimsy's think, she's getting a little creaky, right? It's what happens as we get older. So, but I'm worried a little bit about this. Obesity is never good. Overeating and inactivity, junk food, these things are never good, right? Coronary artery disease, diabetes, dementia, heart disease, etc. So, colon cancer, right? The opposition, us, Ace of Wands. So those people that are opposed to Trump, maybe it could be the Democrats that don't want to have a king, right? So you have this war cry, Ace of Wands. We could see protest, arrest tomorrow during the inauguration, and yeah, people should try not to hit each other with flagpoles, things like this. It's just this Ace of Wands is like bam, hit somebody with a flagpole or hit somebody with a stick kind of a energy. So we could be seeing civil unrest, this kind of energy, the hopes and the fears, hanging up the presidency. And then the final outcome for Donald Trump is the Queen of Cups is coming in, which is the dreamy queen. She's the emotional queen. His health comes as an issue over the heart. So he is beginning immediately to show some serious health issues. And one of the main issues that comes up appears to be coronary artery disease. Regarding the Democrats, they will come in and they will swoop in and they will take him from power. And we will see aggressive actions by the Democrats within the next 30 days. You can see here the Ace of Wands is moving into seventh position, his opposition, the Democrats. And then over that Ace of Wands, that fight, we see the Five of Swords, the ability to take the weapons away from someone we may have conflict with. So on the one hand, it was good. He was able to hail in the new rebuild deal for Gaza, which hopefully will stabilize and create a lasting peace in that area. That's good. But on the other hand, he is not able to stay. So the issues of whether or not he can reach across the aisle, it's interesting. He really, on one hand, wants to be liked by the Democrats. He's abandoned. Poverty and abandonment are at the heart of the Five of Pentacles, to be locked out of the church. So it would show also an emotional individual possibly living in a dream world with the Queen of Cups. The Queen of Cups rubs her lamp. It's a beautiful card. It can be beautiful. However, when it's associated with poverty, it can be a person that's living in their own dream world, excuse me, at the expense of their finances. So we could be entering into harsh times, economically harsh times. Check out my channel on frugal living. It's a lot of fun. But anyway, so this feels like abandonment. He could be abandoned by his supporters. It also is a card that I associate with the depression, being locked out of the church. He could lose his support from evangelicals. And I don't see grocery prices. Oh, actually, grocery prices dramatically drop around June of 2025. I just got oh, that was nice. I just got the remote. It's because of the canning goes, if they start canning all these vegetables, we have a good crop. It looks, hi, honey, how are you? Mila wanted to come say hi to everybody. So the food crisis ends in June of 2025, if you guys are worried about the inflation. And yeah, okay. So we expect to see increase of tensions in Ukraine. No, Trump will not be abandoning Ukraine because his relationship with Vladimir Putin is over because of Putin's involvement, as we had said, in the October 7th massacre. He had been meeting with Hamas prior to the massacre. And so for that reason, Putin has no relationship with Israel going forward. Furthermore, Trump has no future relationship with Putin going forward. So maybe he will hail in a ceasefire, but I don't see them having any future positive relationship. Okay. On behalf of Mila, on myself, relax, breathe, choose green living and choose to purchase green. The power lies with us. We don't have to participate. We send a message as Americans with our values every time we spend our money. All right. Be kind to all so that all will be kind to you too. God bless. Peace out. And we will see you next time. Bye, everyone. Relax. Everything happens for a reason, and it's going to be okay.